Okay, welcome friends. I'm so excited we're here together today. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to quickly share my screen. Presentation mode, there we go. Oh, sorry. Okay, beautiful. Thank you for joining me. We are in week 6 of our weight loss journey together. I'm so excited to be meeting together today. Last week was so powerful. We had really several exciting coaching calls where I was able to hear about a lot of successes that you guys are experiencing. And I'm just so thrilled for where you are in your journey. I'm going to speak to this a little bit more as we continue, but once again, know that you are on the course. You are taking the right actions to make success happen, not only on the weight loss component side, but also on the thought management side. And you know, while it's a wonderful thing to experience our weight loss, excuse me, I think gaining the insight, the perspective, and the greater capacity to manage our thoughts and emotions is where all our power lies. So I'm so thrilled for you. All right, today I want to do a quick recap on where we were a week ago. And again, I'm just going to invite you to submit your Google form prior to our appointment. I'm actually going to be asking some very specific questions in the week 6 Google form, which I'm still in the middle of designing. So that will be emailed later this afternoon. Please take some time to review, complete, and submit that Google form. It's so helpful to me, and I really appreciate the feedback that you're giving. Okay, last week we touched on why our typical eating patterns fail us. As a society, we eat too much, we eat too often. The beauty of the program that we're practicing now is that we're embracing new changes. We're embracing new ways of eating. We're embracing new ways about feeling about our food and the way it serves us. And this is different to what we experience as a society on a whole. And yet it is such a better way to live. So continue to practice these good things. Know that those typical eating patterns do not take us where we want to go and typically set us up for lots of frustration, obstacles, and failure. We spoke at great length about insulin, how insulin can be either our best friend or our worst enemy. We had a couple of questions come through on our private one-on-ones about insulin, about food consumption, the quantities, the times of days, the different food choices we're making. And so I can see that really you're fully engaged and you're learning so much from this information, and you're really starting to make thoughtful and purposeful choices with your food and the way that you want the insulin to work within your body. We did a deep dive into intermittent fasting, which was amazing. I was so thrilled about the feedback that I received from many of you in this space of intermittent fasting and the power that you're feeling from this practice. We came into some additional facts about intermittent fasting and some additional ways to view the practice and empower our practice. And so I really feel like you guys are on fire. As I shared with most of you in our one-on-one appointments, I really feel like this is where the rubber meets the road. You guys are at that place where you're ready to turn the corner and really start to accelerate your progress. A handful of you are already there, and you're experiencing tremendous results from having been on board 100% with these practices. And the bulk of our group, the bulk of our friends are just right there, eager and ready and waiting to turn that corner and gain traction. It's here, friends. It's here, I promise. If you are staying the course and you're putting these tools into practice, it's going to happen. And we still have 2 to 3 more weeks of opportunity to really engage and experience this growth and this evolvement with the tools. So hang tight. Just know that our small and consistent efforts is where the power is found. This is how we're going to see the results manifest in our lives. And then finally, I invited everyone to embrace new beliefs. And in doing this, we had a lot of opportunity to speak in a private fashion about the beliefs that you think are serving you and the beliefs that you find to be more of a challenge and kind of like the heavy backpack that we carry around. Those old beliefs that keep you trapped. And so we're really starting to see an evolvement and to see a betterment with the thought management and the way that we're speaking to ourselves with our mental dialogue, and using those tools to up level our thinking and embrace new ways of thinking. Excuse me. Okay, some of the questions that came up last week that I thought would be empowering to the rest of our group are, do I need to weigh and measure my foods? The answer is no. Okay, obviously we want to be using our good common sense, and we want to be intuitive about the quantities that we're taking in when it comes to our purposeful food choices. I'm going to tell you, for the last 18 months, I have not weighed and measured my foods, and I'm still losing weight. Okay, I'm just as engaged in this work as you are, and I still have a goal and a window that I'm working in to accomplish. I am not weighing my food. I'm not weighing my ounces, my grams, my calories. I'm not doing any of it. And with one of our friends in particular, I took the opportunity to speak to her at great length to ask her, are you weighing your foods? Are you measuring? Are you counting calories? And the answer across the board for my friends who are experiencing the most success is no. We know what a serving size of chicken looks like. It's about the size of the palm of our hand. We know what a serving of vegetables look like. It's about a 1 cup measurement, and we can eyeball these things pretty good, especially because we're a little bit older and wiser in life. We have experience. We know what good sound portions look like. And usually when you're going too far on a quantity or too much into a portion or a serving size, you kind of are flagged by that naturally. So please, I don't want you to get caught up in the drama of this. And it actually seems to be like a little bit of an obstacle for some of us and could be preventing you from making the progress that you want to see. Plus, it's a lot of work. Why do the extra work when it's not required? Okay. I have had tremendous success in gauging my food through good proteins, good vegetables, good fats, wise carbs, and lots of hydration, lots of water, okay? And this is a recipe for success. All right. Will celery juice break your fast? Will a smoothie break your fast? Yes. Anything that's going to spike and bring our insulin level up and is going to trigger our digestive system will break the fast. So as you're coming into meal one, if you need a little something to sustain you, being thoughtful to having some lemon water or a tea without sugar or a coffee without that sugar and cream, those are good choices. Always, I encourage water with sea salt. That's a good choice. A bone broth, that's a beautiful choice. But the moment we take in kind of a food substance of any sort, that's going to bring the hormone levels up, and we're going to be engaging and starting that metabolic process, okay? I love the last question that came from one of our clients. Sleep. Will my sleep impact my ability to lose weight? Is my sleep causing me to not accelerate my weight loss as rapidly as I would like? The answer is yes. We need a minimum of 7 hours of good quality sleep. Anything less than 7 hours is kind of a detriment to our emotional and our physical well-being. So sleep is important. And I speak to sleep in the papers that I handed out in this last email. So take the time to read that material and know that 7+ is the optimal number of hours for sleep. 8 and 9 is even better. Now, if you find that sleep is a struggle and 6 to 7 hours is just like where you tend to sit on a nightly average, then try and allow yourself to have a power nap in the day. Even having a 10 to 20 minute power nap in the day can help you to refresh your mind and to allow your body to come into a more thoughtful and purposeful place so that you can have clarity of thought and make really good choices. Sleep is very, very important. And that's when our systems tend to reset and do the work that's required to put us in a space of optimal performance. So sleep is an important component, and one that I know can be a struggle, but so vital. Okay, through having our one-on-one appointments this week, I was able to learn about some really, really fantastic successes for many of our friends. One of our friends communicated to me that I'm realizing this weight loss journey is not all or nothing. I can meet myself in a space of love and compassion through the process, even when I have a fail. So it was so wonderful to hear her articulate this because she's never had this kind of experience with her weight loss, efforts before. And a lot of times when we don't meet the goal, or maybe we have a day where we're off plan, as I've communicated before, we tend to sabotage ourselves. And so this particular friend was able to really communicate to me that, you know what? She recognizes that every step forward is a step in the right direction. And when she has a setback, it's not the end of the game. We're not throwing out all of our wins and beating ourselves up. We're able to just learn from this experience, embrace ourselves from a real space of love and compassion, and move forward. And that is my goal in what I want to see all of you embrace and experience as we have 2 steps forward and 1 step back, as we're on this journey of life. Another friend communicated that as she's making progress with her weight loss journey, she's also seeing a real benefit come into other areas of her life. As she gains authority in managing her foods and managing her eating windows, she's also gaining authority in other areas such as time management, her patience level with parenting, and how she's feeling about her relationships. So these practices do have a compounding effect. They do kind of like spill over into the other areas of our lives and really benefit so many areas of our lives. And isn't it true that when we find success in one area, it tends to multiply and we experience success in other areas as well? It's such a beautiful experience, and I'm so pleased for her. Finally, another client mentioned to me that she's really starting to experience a shift with the way that she's treating herself and the way that she's thinking about herself and her weight loss. She's recognizing that the way that we're fueling our mental wellness through those thoughts and those beliefs, that they're so important. And she's embracing herself with statements like, I'm capable of doing this. I matter. My choices are important. I get to be on the priority list too. So when we're talking to ourselves with these positive thoughts and these positive emotions and really fueling ourselves with this positive mental dialogue, it works to accelerate and support our weight loss efforts, because we recognize that the choices that we make and the way that we speak to ourselves is important and that we all matter. So these were just a few wins that I've had communicated back to me through our private appointments that I wanted to share with you. We do matter. And this is why we're doing the work, because we need to reinforce and know and create new evidence for ourselves that we matter, not only in our weight loss success, but also in our relationship with ourselves. Okay, one moment. I have a little bit of a sore throat that's trying to come on, and so I'm fighting it with an emergency. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, in the reading material, which I sent out in our email, I've given you additional tips for success. We have all the weight loss components, tools, and strategies that we need for success. And now it's just a matter of practicing and repeating, and gaining more evidence and more opportunity to strengthen what we know works. This being said, I want to offer you a few additional tips for success that can increase and accelerate the path that you're on. Potassium. Potassium is one of those very important minerals that we do not get enough of in our diet. Everything you see on this slide here, I've spoken to in the paperwork that you received through your email. So please know there's additional reading that I invite you to do on all of these components. Bringing our potassium levels up is going to really increase our success, especially as we're practicing the intermittent fast, okay? So you want to choose foods that are high in potassium. Beet tops, kale, spinach, avocados, bananas, and oranges, which while they are high in potassium for those particular fruits, we also want to be sensitive toward because of the natural sugars. For some of our friends, this may be a trigger and an obstacle in their weight loss experience, while for others, they're not experiencing any negative side effect from having some of these fruits on board. Be thoughtful to have limited quantities of those fruits, while high in potassium and good for us, are also high in the natural sugars, okay? I've written extensively about the importance of potassium, and bringing that on board is just going to really support us in a positive way with our eating windows and the high quality foods that we're choosing and supporting us when we go into that intermittent fasting period. Sea salt. Sea salt is a really great way to provide us with the electrolytes that we need to also help us to feel really good when we're in that fasting space of our day, okay? We don't want table salt. The sea salt is very important. It offers us a handful of more high quality minerals and nutrients that our bodies need, and it's going to also help us to feel satisfied and eliminate those cravings. Bringing enough water on board. We definitely want to make sure that we're having lots of hydration. This is obvious for several reasons. We feel better, we feel fuller, we have greater clarity of mind, and we are able to have our systems work more to our advantage and more to our benefit, and they're going to be flushing things through in a more efficient way. So having at least the number of ounces that your body weight is divided by 2. So if you're at 200 pounds, I want to make sure that you're having 100 ounces of water so that you have optimal performance, okay? Having a high quality fat on board as part of our second meal. This is going to make sure that you feel nice and full and that you're satiated and that you're comfortable as you move into that fasting window. We want to have a lot of good high quality fats as part of our diet, but specifically in that second meal, it's going to make you feel full, satisfied, eliminate those cravings, and it's going to sustain you into the space of coming back around the clock until you're ready to embrace that first meal, okay? Again, I'm going to remind you, if you need a little snack to support you between meal 1 and meal 2, or to sustain you between meal 2 and your fasting window, choose the high quality fat. It's going to buffer that insulin. You're not going to see any negative results from having a high quality fat. Make sure you're getting enough sleep. Add that power nap into your day if needed. And then be very mindful as to how you're managing your stress. Our cortisol levels, when they're too high, they can have a negative implication on our weight loss. It can actually be a barrier and act like an obstacle. So we want to be very thoughtful about our mindfulness through having meditation on board, having our purposeful thought downloads in place, embracing that real positive dialogue and that self-care that we want to see, and being thoughtful to the stress that we allow into our lives. You're the gatekeeper over your time. You're the gatekeeper over your emotional wellness. You decide what you allow in and what you choose to keep out. And I would invite you to maybe practice saying no a little more frequently. If you find that you tend to say yes to a lot of things and this elevates your stress because then you feel overcommitted, hit the no button and know that it's okay to say no. No is a complete sentence. And if someone else feels put out by that, by the choice that you're making so that you can keep yourself in a more balanced state, it's their responsible to manage their emotions. You are never responsible for how someone else feels, and saying no is perfectly within your bounds of what you should be doing and can be doing to maintain better balance in your life. All right, friends, I want to get into some of our new learning today, and I'm so excited to come here. This is going to be so exciting because when we gain greater understanding about our feelings and what feelings are and what sensations are, then we have more power on our side to make better choices. Okay, feelings versus sensations. Now, as I've shared with you before, a sensation is something that happens within our body. It's a physiological response that sends a message to our brain that something is going on and that we have a need that needs to be met. So for instance, when you have a full bladder, your body signals to your brain that you need to go to the bathroom. This is a sensation. When you stub your toe or you cut your finger or you have a genuine hunger sensation, this is your body's way of triggering your brain that you have a physiological need that needs to be satisfied, okay? This is the way that we are designed. This is the way that our body communicates for our well-being, and it's the way that our body alerts us and sends the red flag out so that we know we need to meet our physical needs. Feelings are caused by our thoughts. Feelings start in our brain and then they actually travel into our body, creating a sensation of happiness, joy, peace, anger, disappointment, overwhelm, anxiety. Okay? Our feelings are always caused by our thoughts. And I'm going to give this example to you so you can see the contrast. The way that we know our feelings always stem from a thought is because we can have the same experience occur to two different people, and these two different individuals can have separate thoughts leading to separate feelings. Now, remember in the model, we have our circumstance, thought, feeling, action, and results. And we've spoken about the way that this model works. And in fact, let me just come into our next slide so we can look at it together. But in the model, circumstances are the neutral events that take place, and then we attach meaning to these events by what we choose to think. So here's the example. Let's say you leave your garbage can out and a neighbor decides to bring it up to the curb for you. They bring it off the street, they bring it up to your garage, and this creates a thought. One person may think, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. My neighbors must think that I'm very irresponsible. This thought leads to a feeling of embarrassment. And so the thought of being irresponsible triggers and causes the feeling of embarrassment. Likewise, for another neighbor, maybe the same episode occurs. One neighbor brings in the garbage can, pulls it up to the garage, and the other neighbor could have a thought of, wow, I have the best neighbors in the world. They are so thoughtful. This thought causes the other neighbor to feel an emotion of gratitude, okay? In having the thought of appreciation and love and being grateful for the care and consideration of the neighbor, the emotion that is created is gratitude. So with our feelings are always triggered by the thoughts that we're choosing to believe. I hope you can see the contrast there in those examples. Same experience, two different thoughts, two different emotions. So our feelings always are caused by the thoughts that we choose to embrace and believe. All right? We're going to look at this a little bit more extensively as we move into the rest of our class. But I wanted to bring this back into our awareness because as we move further down our weight loss journey, it's really important that we're fueling ourselves with positive emotions, and that means we're fueling ourselves with positive thoughts. Now, in identifying our feelings, it's important that we recognize that having a contrast is a natural part of the human experience. Additionally, in the paperwork which I sent to you, I spoke to the importance of embracing the human experience and recognizing that there's always a 50-50 contrast in life. Regardless of where we're at in the spectrum of our life's journey, we're always going to have a contrast. We can't know what happiness is without sadness. We can't feel peace without some frustration and disappointment. We certainly wouldn't know what pleasure is without pain. And so it is in our lives that the contrast is what makes for a full, rich life experience. I want you to think about our feelings as a buffet table. If you were to go into a restaurant and you were to walk up and down the buffet table, you would see a whole variety of different foods available. We would have olives, we would have corn, we would have kidney beans, we would have 3 or 4 different types of salad dressing, along with 3 or 4 different types of lettuce. And so it is with our emotions and our feelings. Interestingly enough, a lot of us are not very familiar with the spectrum of feelings that are available to us. We tend to gravitate to our most favorite or our most familiar emotions, like happy, sad, fine, good, mad. And there's so many more beautiful feelings available to us through this human experience that we can access when we increase our awareness of the feelings that are available. So as you're moving forward and fueling yourself with positive emotion in this weight loss journey, I want you to really branch out and play with some of these more vibrant and more empowering emotions. I'll have you know, capability and empowerment are 2 of my most favorite emotions. I love the way that those make me feel. And I love creating thoughts that surround capability and empowerment. Now, following this class, when I send out our Google form for you to complete, I'm also going to attach a PDF that is about 4 or 5 pages long with a whole list of a variety of feelings. I want you to print that out and take a look at that. and start to ask yourself, do I know what this means? Have I experimented with this feeling before? And then start to put some of these newer emotions into place and see how they serve you. I didn't include this page purposefully when I emailed out my worksheets to you because it is a rather lengthy attachment, and I didn't want you to get freaked out when the printer kept spitting and spitting and spitting pages out for this week's learning materials. Know that that is coming, and that is my gift to you. That's the bonus material for this week, to really print those out, look at those feelings, and come into a place of awareness and practice with the beautiful buffet of feelings that is available for all of us. When we have a new emotion in our lives that's not familiar, sometimes it's hard to identify, and we need to ask ourselves some important questions. The best way to become aware of what we're feeling and to identify an emotion is to ask, what is the emotion that I'm feeling? Now, from here, when you feel like you've gained real clarity of thought, you can ask yourself, where is this emotion in my body? Our emotions do trigger us physically, and they do reside in different parts of our body. For each of us, it's going to be a different experience. It's going to be a different sensation. But I know when I'm feeling happy or proud, it tends to sit in my chest. And I tend to feel just a little bit fuller and a little bit brighter, and also within my face. My eyes are a little bit more wide and bright, and I feel lighter as well. So as you're coming into this practice and this awareness of your emotions, tune in with your body and say, where am I feeling this emotion? If you're sad or frustrated, start to identify with how that triggers you physiologically. Also ask your question, how do I know I'm feeling this specific emotion? I had an experience just last week where I was feeling anger, and I really was sitting in this space of anger, and you know what? It was a real trigger for me. I had to do like a lot of thought work around this, and it was present with me for a day or two because of an experience that occurred with one of my children. As I took more time to allow anger to sit with me, though, what I really came to discover was that I was feeling hurt. I was feeling disappointment. Anger was at the surface, and it was the first emotion that presented. But when I took time to really get in touch with this emotion, I came to learn that I was feeling hurt and disappointment, and actually a genuine deep sadness over what had transpired. So take your time to sit with this emotion and allow yourself to question and see if it's the true emotion that really is present. Sometimes there can be a couple of layers, and it takes a little work to uncover what is the true emotion that is sitting behind our experiences. Okay? A fun question to ask is, does this emotion have a color? When I was angry, red. Red would have been the emotion that I would have identified with. And red, of course, triggers us into feelings of like hot, frustrated, kind of like on fire, right? Agitated. It's a real trigger when we think about those colors that we associate with the emotions, and it can be a real clarifier as well. As I sat with the emotion longer and I came into the emotion of sadness and recognized that it was disappointment and hurt, it was more of a deep blue. And when I recognized that, it kind of changed my whole experience as well. It was like a very dark, deep blue kind of a color rather than a red. Ask yourself if the emotion is heavy or light. And a lot of times we physically can feel the weight of our emotions. So allow this to be another tool that you can use to identify how the emotion is impacting you. Now, know that in identifying our emotions, it takes practice. This isn't something that's very common within our society. It's not even common within our family units and within our groups of friends that we associate with. Practicing emotion requires an effort. It requires being very present with our intentional thinking, and it also requires lots of introspective questions. So as you get in touch and align with these emotions, just know it will take some practice, and that through the practice, it will get easier and you'll be able to identify and make sense of your emotions in a much quicker fashion. We are meant to have a contrast of emotions. As I shared with you, we can't know what happiness is without sadness. And so this being said, know that feeling the full spectrum of emotion is a beautiful thing. It's the way that life is supposed to be. And we're supposed to be able to understand, process, and sit with both our positive and our negative emotions. Please take the time to do a little reading on that as I have shared with you through your papers. It's really good to understand the importance of these emotions and also to know how they're fueling us. Okay. Now I want to speak to the concept of an indulgent emotion. If you've not heard this term before, you're going to be fascinated. Indulgent emotions are the ones that we hold on to and that we feel a sense of ownership over. It's almost like having that special little blankie, like when we were toddlers and we just can't seem to go anywhere without this. I also like to compare it to kind of like picking up a heavy purse. Okay. As women, we know how important it is to always make sure that our purse is with us wherever we go. And so it is with indulgent emotions. Indulgent emotions keep us stuck in our story. They keep us trapped from making progress. And it's almost like we have this attachment to and this ownership and claim in having this indulgent emotion along for the ride. I love the picture that I chose to put with this slide with the woman behind the glass. We can see that she's feeling a whole mixture of different emotions, but she's trapped. She's trapped behind this glass because it's a physical barrier in this picture, in this visual. Likewise, our indulgent emotions can keep us trapped. The most common indulgent emotions are overwhelm, worry, anxiety, disappointment, discomfort, sadness, pity. Lots of emotions that really play into our story and make us believe that we are victims within our lives. And these aren't very great or healthy emotions for us to keep an attachment to. They're defeating. They present us with obstacles. They actually end up being a challenge for us in furthering our relationships, furthering our weight loss progress, furthering our evolution for ourselves. And they can take us into a very negative downward spiral and keep us very, very stuck. Interestingly enough, many of us feel these indulgent emotions often, and we believe that they're just who we are. It's part of our identity. As you see further down on my slide, I have statements like, I've never been able to lose weight. It's just too hard. Nothing I ever do seems to matter. No one appreciates me. I don't ever stick to anything that's difficult and long-term because it's just not who I am. All of these kinds of indulgent emotions are defeating, and there's a cost to having these emotions, sitting with these emotions, and supporting these emotions. We always have either a positive byproduct or a negative byproduct from what we're choosing to think and feel in our lives. So ask yourselves, what is this emotion costing me? What is the price that I'm paying for believing I'm never going to be able to lose weight? I'm telling you, that is a net negative across the board. You are not fueling yourself in any beautiful way, and your mind and body are actually going to respond to that indulgent emotion of, I've never been able to lose weight. And guess what? You're not going to be able to lose weight. That's going to be the end result of fueling, embracing, and owning that indulgent emotion. So call yourself out on this when you see that that indulgent emotion is present in your thought process. Make sure that you're becoming aware of it and that you're hitting the pause button and being like, wow, well, of course I feel challenged today. I'm choosing to believe that it's already a bad day. This is going to be a bad day. My child was disrespectful. And then everything else that's going to unfold in your day is going to be negative as well, especially if you can't part ways with that belief. So we really need to be onto ourselves the minute that indulgent emotion surfaces, and we really need to be willing to do our thought work around it and ask ourselves, is that true? Is this really serving me? Or is this mind drama? Am I allowing myself to get caught up in and stuck in this negative energy? Okay. Now, friends, as we're moving through our weight loss journey, I know we've spoken to this concept before as well. Discomfort is the currency to our dreams. Interestingly enough, I had an experience just this weekend where I had a dessert available to me. And as this dessert came into my space, I paused and recognized I'm going to be uncomfortable on either side of the fence. I have this beautiful dessert in front of me. If I choose to eat it and I go off my eating window and I indulge, which I had not planned for, and if I embrace having this sugar and this flour and this yummy indulgent treat, I'm going to be happy for a moment. I'm going to have immediate gratification in my short window. But my disappointment and my discomfort is going to be present. I will think that I'm having something that's really yummy and serving me well, but quite frankly, it's working against me. So my choice was experience discomfort in saying no to the indulgent treat and just know that it's just kind of going to be uncomfortable for a short period of time. But ultimately, I'm going to have a win on my side by honoring my protocol. Or experience the discomfort of, okay, I've said no, and now I get the beautiful byproduct of having honored my protocol. And that brings me a much more beautiful, abundant result. And that the discomfort that I chose to embrace by saying no serves me better, okay? You're going to be uncomfortable if you eat it and indulge, because then you're going to have those negative beliefs, but you're also going to have discomfort when you say no initially. The beautiful thing is you get to know that you actually honored your plan, you honored your word, you created more evidence in your space of being capable in doing hard things, and that, my friends, is the better choice to make. So the discomfort was present on both sides, but it's just what end result did I want? And I chose to say no. I knew that by having that dessert, I would be derailing all of my efforts, and that I would then have the mind drama that would come with not being able to honor my choices. And especially because I hadn't planned for it, as we have discussed with enjoying the joy, eat, and making the exception. Okay, again, if we want to be different, we have to do different. And this requires exercising purposeful thoughts, intentional thoughts, and engaging that prefrontal cortex. That's what we've been speaking to for 6 weeks now. In order to create different, we have to be willing to do different, and we have to be willing to feel different. All right. Now, friends, as we know, emotions are part of the game of life. We get the beautiful and we get the ugly. We get the empowering and we get the frustration. Knowing how to process our emotions and process them from a space of love and compassion and empowerment, that's the secret to success. So I want to speak to the different choices that are available when it comes to processing our emotions. We really have 4 options available. Now, for those of you that have taken advantage of receiving the urge jar, this will be familiar. And for those of you who haven't, reach out to me so I can send you this special gift. In the reading that I sent along with the urge jar, I identified the 4 different choices that we have available to us when it comes to processing our emotions. We can either resist an emotion, which means that we're fighting it. We're really kind of trying to like white knuckle it, and we're really digging in with our heels and trying to use our willpower. Resistance never works long term because we only have a certain amount of willpower available, and then eventually our natural selves, our more primitive self will win out. Willpower is never a good game plan, and it never serves us and sustains us in the long term. We have an option of avoiding our emotions, like burying our heads in the sand and pretending that it just doesn't matter or that it doesn't exist, okay? Avoidance is also a very defeating choice, because guess what? If you don't take care of and remedy the emotion when it's there, it may subside for a small amount of time. It's going to resurface again, and possibly in a different situation with a different person or with a different set of circumstances. But when we avoid working through our emotions and processing them, then guess what? They just present themselves in new and different ways. And the learning lesson circles back around for us to engage with. Okay, the third choice is that we get to react or respond. Now, this is very reflective of like what a toddler would choose to do. It's that side of ourselves that desires and engages with immediate gratification. I want it now, and I'm going to have it. And damn it, I'm going to do whatever I need to take to have it now. Okay? So responding and reacting is just indulgent. We give in to that urge, we give in to that emotion, and we need the immediate satisfaction. I've been in this space often in my life. And while it feels good in the moment, it never brings me a beautiful outcome. It never brings me the beautiful result that I'm hoping for. And I do feel a little bit childish because then I kind of reprimand myself and I'm like, did I really need to give into that and eat 2 full sugar cookies from the cookie store down the street? No, I know that that's not my best choice and it doesn't serve my greater good. The choice that we want to make when it comes to processing emotion is our 4th choice, our best choice, and that is to process the emotion. When we have an uncomfortable emotion, we need to be able to sit with this emotion. We need to allow it to be present in our space. We need to acknowledge what the emotion is, and we need to be willing to feel the emotion and just let it be present in our space. It can take some time to process. We may have to approach it from different angles and try different strategies in order to work through that emotion. But I promise you, the moment that you choose to process and allow the emotion to be present, then you're going to start making progress with understanding and using that emotion to your benefit. And not all negative emotions are bad. We can learn a lot of beautiful things from allowing a negative emotion to be present with us. Why was I hurt? Why was I disappointed a week ago when this experience happened for my child? In allowing myself to sit with that level of hurt and sadness, I was able to make sense of the situation and I was able to reach a conclusion and to experience resolution with that disappointing emotion, that negative emotion. So being willing to process that emotion is a teaching opportunity. It's a learning opportunity for us. It's an opportunity for ask better of ourselves. And when we choose to process, then we're evolving and we're growing into that next best version of ourselves. One way to think about processing an emotion is to think of a beach ball that's floating on the top of the water in a swimming pool. The emotion is the ball. And when we have an emotion that's in our space, we get a choice. We can allow it to be present and be in our space and just float along and work with it in its natural state. Or if we take that ball and we try and push it down and under, like resistance invites us to do, when we push it down, then we've engaged in a struggle. We've engaged in a battle with the emotion. Likewise, if we avoid the ball and pretend that it's not there, it's still there and it still needs acknowledgement and recognition and processing, but we're just choosing to pretend something different. Responding and reacting to the ball and being thoughtless to our engagement with the emotion, that doesn't serve us either. We really have to just allow that emotion to sit and be present and know that by engaging with it purposefully, we're going to have a better outcome than if we try and push it down and hold it away from us, or if we try and toss it aside and ignore it, or if we're just being, totally reactionary to the emotion. So think of that ball. And also the most interesting thing is when we push that down, that beach ball down, we can only hold it down for so long. Within a matter of 2 or 3 minutes, we're going to lose our power. And that ball is going to spring up. And not only is it going to come to the surface of the water, but we're going to even have a greater negative impact because that ball is going to spray in our face. It's going to zip up out of the water and go thrusting into the air into a totally random direction. We're going to have a negative experience and we're going to have more backlash from the resistance than we are from the allowing and the processing of the emotions. So as you move into more mindfulness with your emotions, be very thoughtful to which choice you're making and the why that sits behind the choice in how you're processing your emotions. It's so wonderful, friends, when you come into this clean space and you can be very thoughtful to managing your emotions with purpose. It's so much more empowering and it feels so much better than resisting, avoiding, reacting, and responding. So give it a try. Ask yourself to step out of your box and to try something new this week. Now, as we move forward between weeks 6, 7, and 8, it's going to be all about engaging our mindset tools. We have our weight loss tools for success, and now we're going to really turn the volume up. We're going to open the curtains a little bit wider, and we're really going to get on board and engaging these mindset tools that have been shared. The mindset tools that I have provided for you act like the GPS for our brain. Literally, we are programming ourselves for success. Doing a purposeful thought download gives your mind direction. It invites your mind to embrace purposeful thoughts that will support you in moving forward in your weight loss journey. It invites your mind to embrace positive dialogue. When we have positive dialogue and we have positive thoughts, we're creating positive feelings. From these feelings, we're taking positive actions. We're making good food choices. We're getting enough sleep. We're filling our water glass up once again in the middle of the day so we can have enough water on board. Those positive actions are all going to work together to create and support that positive end result that we desire, which is greater weight loss. Okay? So don't underestimate the power of these mindset tools that we've spoken of and that we're coaching on when we come into our one-on-one appointments. This is the game changer. I absolutely promise you this. Every time I talk to coaching friends about the tools that I used and that I am using presently for myself and for my clients, they're like so inspired. The purposeful thought download, the future focused model, and our future focused calendar are the game changers. Dial in that GPS, friends. Put the power of your mind into action. Let your mind, let that programming work for you. Let your ability to process the emotions through your purposeful thought download come together and marry and come together and unite to support you in empowering your optimal results. I promise this is where the magic happens, and you are capable of doing this. Let me pause for just a moment. I had a coaching session with one of our friends this last week, and in talking about the future-focused calendar, she shared with me, she said, Samantha, because I've used the tools, and specifically the future-focused calendar by setting our goals 7 days out in advance, she was able to lose an additional ½ pound more than what she had planned for when she initially had set that goal. So on day 1, she looked forward into her week, chose a number, set the goal in day 7, and then through observing and honoring the tools and using all of these practices, when day 7 came around, she found that she had lost an additional ½ pound than what she had planned for. This is the kind of success that these tools create. I promise these are game changers and they are very powerful. They will set you up for success. And we're going to continue to fine-tune them, and fine-tune them as we come into our coaching space together. Okay. Now, knowing that these tools have been proven and that they will set you up for success, this is why coaching matters. When we come into our sessions together, this allows us to work in a one-on-one space to speak through, talk to, and sift out those old belief systems that are keeping you stuck. This is the beauty of coaching, friends. And this is why I truly believe that partnering coaching with weight loss is the winning combination. Coaching allows us to examine why we're thinking the things that we're thinking and what's wrong and what's defeating about our belief systems. Many of the beliefs that we hold within ourselves and that we've been programmed to believe through these years about, I can't lose weight, it's always been too hard. They're poisonous and toxic thoughts. And for sure, they're not going to help you move forward and gain any kind of result. They're going to keep you stuck. They're going to keep you stagnant, and they're going to keep you feeling awful. This is why coaching matters. It allows us to examine those beliefs that are weighing you down and fuel you with beliefs that are going to empower and help you move forward in your journey and elevate your growth, elevate your involvement, and help you to really feel excited about who you are and the life that you're living. Coaching also allows you to use these tools and to refine these tools to create new and better ways of thinking and feeling. So don't underestimate the importance of coming into our one-on-one coaching calls. You know, it's so interesting. It doesn't really matter what we end up speaking on at that time. And I don't always coach on weight loss when I meet with each of you. Sometimes we coach on relationships. Sometimes we coach on emotions. Sometimes we coach on scenarios that occur within work-life balance. All of the things, regardless of what we're talking about, they kind of all come back to the fundamentals. And when we can examine a better way to think and feel within your work, you're going to think and feel better within your relationship. and you're going to think and feel better within your weight loss progress as well. So it all has this beautiful, beautiful cumulative effect where everything's spilling into one another and you're receiving the benefits. Okay, now here's my question for you before we end our class today. Are you willing to embrace change? Being willing to embrace change and really take it to heart and do things differently than what you're used to doing requires courage. I know it requires so much courage to ask yourself to show up in a better way, to ask yourself to honor your protocol and say no to the dessert when everyone else is celebrating. I know it requires courage to say, I can sit through this fast and I'm going to be okay. And I can be comfortable in this space and process my emotion of disappointment. I know it requires something new and something different. But friends, that's the only way to improve our lives is by embracing new and different. And so as I've spoken to before, are you willing to let go of the backpack? Are you willing to set down the backpack of old beliefs, old practices, and embrace becoming a new and better you? This is my invitation and this is my challenge to you. We are in week 6. We are not at the end of the game, friends. We still have 6, 7, and 8. We still have 3 full weeks, 21 days of opportunity to make progress in our space. I am here to support you 100%. I matter to me. I'm here to support myself 100%. And also, I want you to know how much you matter to me as well. I hope that you've been able to feel this. I hope you've been able to experience this through our journey so far. Many of you have taken the opportunity to reach out to me and ask questions and to get feedback outside of our classes, outside of our coaching appointments. And this is what I delight in doing, is going above and beyond the call of duty to support you in really creating a new result for yourself. I am here to support you, and that is what I want to do. Allow me this opportunity, but more importantly, allow yourself the opportunity to embrace change. Okay, before we end, I want to touch very, very quickly on the Urge Jar. I sent out a small video that spoke to this gift, which I've offered. Many of you said yes and got on board in receiving the Urge Jar. I'm so excited for you. As you read through the material and you're practicing with the Urge Jar, know that the practice of the Urge Jar partners beautifully with the processing of emotions, which we spoke to today. If you have questions and you find any confusion surrounding the Urge Jar that you've received, reach out so we can resolve them and you can put this tool into action in your life. Likewise, if you've not received the Urge Jar, which I have offered, and you would like to do so, please reach out to me. I still very much so would enjoy sending this your direction. It's going to be powerful whether you've already started the practice or if you're just getting on board and starting the practice today. There's a lot of power to be had within this practice, and I know that it can up-level your success as we continue to move forward in our weight loss journey. Okay, I want to allow for questions and answers. Do we have any questions or answers from our group? I know a few of you are present, but with your cameras off, and that is totally fine. I very much appreciate that it's, the middle of the morning and you might be helping children with things. You might be putting on your makeup for the day. Any other comments or questions that might come from this week's learning concepts? Okay, excellent. Again, as we close, know that I've been so pleased to be here and to be a part of your journey. If you're having to recommit yourself to this process, and this is day 1, once again, embrace it, own it, set yourself up for success, and know that every time we choose to be on board, we're making a choice that's going to further our progress and support us in moving in the right direction. You have got this, my friend. We have got this. You are very, very capable of doing this, and this is not the end of the road. Recommit, realign your emotions, realign your thinking, and commit to yourself. We want different, we need to do different, and the power lies within us. Have a beautiful week. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching the replay. I know so many of our friends have to tune into this after work hours and watch the replay so that they can be up to speed for each of our week's activities. Know that I appreciate you tuning in and supporting yourself through the replay process as well. Have a beautiful week. I look forward to our one-on-one appointments, and we will catch up soon. Take care.